So we're paying over $1 trillion of interest on the national debt. Then, okay, we would have more room for wasting money, basically. But when we're spending so much money that the country is going bankrupt, then we really need to stop spending money unless we're sure it is good value. So if we make a mistake, we'll quickly fix it. So we need to act fast. So stop wasting billions of dollars of taxpayer money. But if we make a mistake, we'll reverse it quickly.
Right.
Like you talked, it's like they're living in an alternate reality.
Oh, there's a lot of people that I talk to that I have to go, where did you hear that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, like the Associated Press, which I call Associated Propaganda, the AP, they ran a international news story saying that Doge fired air traffic controllers. Like you talked, it's like they're living in. There's a talent shortage in air traffic control because of DEI and not hiring people on merit.
Which is so crazy that worked.
I think we should not put the public safety at risk.
No.
Because of some demented philosophy.
Somebody made a post today about it infiltrating the NSA.
It's a gigantic scam, like one of the biggest, maybe the biggest scam ever.
And how many NGOs?
I think it was a total number of NGOs, probably millions, but in terms of large NGOs, tens of thousands. I mean, it's actually kind of a hack to the system where someone can get an NGO stood up for a fairly small amount of money. Like George Soros was really good at this. Like George Soros is like a system hacker. Like he figured out how to hack the system. It's a gigantic scam. Like one of the biggest, maybe the biggest scam. This is a revolutionary cabinet, and maybe the most revolutionary cabinet since the first revolution. This is not a bunch of business as usual types. So this is why some of the Senate confirmations are quite challenging, is because when you try to appoint people who are going to change the system, the system doesn't want to let them through. This is a revolutionary cabinet, and maybe if you talk to somebody who gets all their information from like what I call legacy media, they're living in a different world. Than if they say are listening to your podcast or getting news from X or just if. It's kind of wild. If you talk to somebody who gets all their information,
it's almost like you're caught in an outdated version of the virus, and everybody else already has the immunity to that virus. Like this is, like you need a new mind virus. The one that you're pushing, it's like it doesn't work anymore. It's too crazy.
Yeah, the whole thing's very crazy. I mean, the media is incredibly partisan.
It's almost like you're caught in an outdated.
But these are recommendations that are then confirmed by the department. You can see line by line what Doge has done at doge.gov. So whatever we do, we put on doge.gov so you can see everything that is being done.
And there's a tracker that shows how much money has been saved.
Yeah, but these are. It's not like if it was a very well-run ship, if it was very efficient, it would be hard to improve. But it's not efficient, so therefore it is actually relatively easy to improve. The idea that it would be just untraceable blank checks didn't occur to us at first.
Jesus.
So anyway,
so is that one of the things that accounts to this? There's this $4 trillion that's kind of they don't know where it went. They don't know.
I think that's probably a cumulative number. The idea that
it almost seems fake. Like when you're seeing how we were covering this article that said 55,000 Democrat NGOs were discovered that had been contributing to campaigns and moving things around and pushing propaganda, and they were all connected. And they found it through AI. That you have to go through steps and steps and steps to figure out where the money's coming from. Mm-hmm. Oh, it's all funneling down to this group, and this group does that. It almost seems.
If money is sent to a person or organization from the government, and you didn't really deserve it, but the government still sent it to you, is that waste or fraud?
Right.
So, I mean, there's a lot of payments where someone just approved the payment, but then that payment officer changed jobs or retired or died, and the payments just keep going. If money is sent to, it's like if you forget to pay your gym membership or something like that.
Right.
Now, imagine it's not the gym membership. You said your gym membership's $20 billion a year or something, but they forgot to turn it off. That's happening at scale in the government. It's like if you forget the AP, they ran a international news story saying that Doge fired air traffic controllers, but we didn't fire any air traffic controllers at all. In fact, we're trying to hire air traffic controllers, not fire them.
Yeah, I saw that. You made a tweet about it, right?
Yeah.
What do you call it now? Do you call it a post?
Post, yeah, whatever.
You can't call it a tweet though. Do you call it a tweet accidentally ever?
the AP.
It was spent on legitimate things. Don't worry, but we don't know what we spent it on.
Well, I mean, how do you know? Obviously, one cannot say it was spent legitimately if they don't know what it was spent on. That doesn't make any sense.
This is such a fascinating time because with this, it was spent on legitimate things.
There's a lot of payments that where someone just approved the payment, but then that payment officer changed jobs or retired or died, and the payments just keep going. You know, it's like if you forget to pay your gym membership or something like that.
Right.
Now, imagine it's not the gym membership. You said your gym membership's $20 billion a year or something. There's a lot of payments that where someone just, it could be the kind of thing where you sort of fund Ebola prevention, but it turns out that actually you're funding a lab that develops new Ebola recipes or something,
Yeah.
And they claim it's Ebola prevention, but it's actually Ebola creation. So some of these things, I don't know. I mean, just, but it just seems like we shouldn't be sending taxpayer money to dubious enterprises overseas. It could be the kind of thing where you sort of fund Ebola.
And if you're only talking about the propaganda talking points and you're not talking about the very clear fraud and waste, it's very obvious what you're doing.
Yeah.
You're just gaslighting.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So exactly, because we're saying, like, look, in fact, I've said we're going to make mistakes. We're not going to be perfect.
And if you're only talking about the propaganda,
this is the kind of thing that if it was done as a public company, the company would be immediately delisted and the executive team would be thrown in prison. But this is just normal at the government. So we said, okay, our recommendation to the Treasury and the Federal Reserve is like we need to make the payment categorization codes mandatory, not optional, and there needs to be an explanation. We're not judging the quality of the explanation, but there should be some explanation for what this payment is for above nothing. This is the first time that they're not, that the revolution might actually succeed, that we can restore power to the people instead of power to the bureaucracy. Now,
the size of it was when you guys first started investigating it, when you first get in, how much of it was shocking? Like just the size of it all.
This is the first time.
What's fascinating to me is how much the mainstream media is in line with the very specific talking points and how little. You'll have Fox News. You essentially have Fox News on television. It's like the only one that is pointing out the ridiculous fraud and waste. What's fascinating, this is such a fascinating time because with this setup, the way it is right now with Trump back in after all that happened to him and with you there and with RFK Jr. and Tulsi and Kash Patel, it's like this is a wild time to find out what's really going on. That's like never happened before. This is nothing like the first term. Now he's had 4 years to stew on it. And with you guys all going through this, we're getting an understanding of the government that we've literally never had before.
This is a revolutionary cabinet, and maybe the most revolutionary cabinet since the first revolution. This is not a bunch of business as usual types. So this is why some of the Senate confirmations were quite challenging, is because when you try to appoint people who are going to change the system, the system doesn't want to let them through.
This is such a fascinating time. Because with this...
Everyone calls it PAM. That's responsible for almost $5 trillion payments a year, roughly $1 billion an hour. And when we came there, we're looking at this PAM, and it's like the payments have no... you could put a payment through with no payment categorization code and no description on the payment. Like basically untraceable blank checks. Everyone calls it PAM. It's an oxymoron.
Right. It's a loophole.
Yes. It basically, the government-funded NGOs are a way to do things that would be illegal if they were the government, but are somehow made legal if it's sent to a so-called nonprofit. But these nonprofits are then used to people cash out these nonprofits. It's an oxymoron.